I don't want to disturb in case the impala is my side. Let me just try to talk to Taylor quickly on the game drive radio. Which channel is she on, Kirsten? 1 or 2? As it looks like they're going away from where we are. Channel 2. Taylor. Wow. I'm just trying to see if I can spot Taylor. I can see Taylor there. RT. I'm concerned they're heading into Little Gowrie. Copy, I got your visual. Okay, so apparently they've ducked off into here, outside of our boundary. We're just going to try... We're trying to get a view, one last view. They might pop out. Okay, so they headed off in here. Now, we're just trying to get one view of them. I can see the cars moving through the block there, but they are heading, hopefully, straight west, which would be towards us. But it looks like they're actually going south. Unfortunately, there's an impala. Let's just wait here. Let's see if they spot that impala. Right, let me go back for you, Dave. Let's stand by here. Catherine, my heart is racing as well. I haven't seen my favorite animal in well over a year. And I was actually looking at some old photographs today. And I was actually about to show Dave one of the last photographs I took of a wild dog before I went up to Kenya. And I was just hoping, I'm sure I'll see them. They'll definitely appear for me at some point. But I think they might not have spotted this impala, because impala don't alarm call at wild dogs. They just run. So I think they might have just missed each other. But it's definitely worth our while hanging around this area, because dogs change direction at all time. But there we go. So that was one of the last photographs from my last sighting with dogs. I've actually seen these dogs before. Thanks for that, James. The lowest Sabi breakaway 2 males. Of course, if you remember the history, these dogs have quite a sad history. 90% of their pack was wiped out by canine distemper. Was it a year? Just over a year ago. Well, the sun's about to disappear. There we go, look at that. I'm just listening to where the cars are moving. I think people don't really know their north, south, east, west, because if they were heading straight west, they would be heading for that golden orb on the horizon. If they're going that way, that is south. Oh dear, well, we were just too slow today. But I think it's going to keep hanging around here. I've been hanging around this area hoping for alarm calls at Tundi. So I think I'll just keep hanging about here. And you never know, they might head down towards the Mawati and then come back to the north. Oh, I see cars racing forward. So car racing forward means I race forward. Just keep parallel with them. You better watch out, Nyala. Bye. He looks like, whoa, what's going on? Now, wild dogs are mostly crepuscular hunters, meaning they are most active at dusk and dawn, so we're right in their term of activity. They generally sleep during the day. They will sometimes move at night, but they will also sometimes be quite active on the full moon nights Just trying to see where that car disappeared to. You see it, Dave? But we're in the right direction. They might pop out of Baboon Pan, actually. Let's go down there. Sorry, Franklin. Dogs to chase. Now, they'll head through Baboon Pan, Lucas Open, and then cut into Vuyatela. So it's definitely worth sort of just keeping parallel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go across the Mawati again, and I'm going to stop there and I'm going to listen for where those cars are, and also have the Game Drive radio on the Eastern Channel to try and figure out where they might go. Okay, now hopefully Steve has had some luck looking for Tingana, who crossed around Shibam Road a bit earlier, so he might be around Treehouse Dam. So let's go see where Steve's off to next.
Yeah, we didn't have too much of a detailed description of where Tingana crossed in, so we moved up and down, up and down, up and down, but no luck at all with regards to the Duke. It's quite a large section between Shabamu Road and Twin Dams and Treehouse, so where exactly on that piece it came up, uncertain, but we did give it a go, but we turned out to be unsuccessful. So we are driving around. We are now back in the area where Hosana was left this morning, and see if he decides to show himself. We've just been driving through the Mawati, hence I was in low range. Now we are back in high range. Do a little bit of a loop here. We'll probably head on sort of back towards Vuyatela Dam and see if maybe it was Hosana that was frightening the kudu, the bushbuck, the nyalas earlier, and the zebra. But we got tracks of a huge herd of elephant coming in around Shabamu, so we only got the sort of tail end of that herd. So it's probably about 25 to 30, maybe even more animals. Well, it seems like a saddle stalk.
Live? Oh, I have no communication. Whew. That was lucky. I could have said all kinds of things. Anyways, so we come. The adrenaline is still pumping from the wild dogs, but the wild dogs have gone west now. So I thought I'd very quickly come back and have a look at the. Saddle-billed stork, because I can't believe it's still here. Everybody else flew away that could fly, and everything else with legs that was good at running ran for their absolute lives. Oh, that is a very vigorous fishing technique. You go, saddle-billed stork. It must be chasing something. Definitely looks like it's walking with purpose. And actually, look, you can see, but it's like something is trying to escape it. I don't know if you saw the bubbles up ahead. I don't know if it's just coincidence. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe those are just insects. Could be frogs. It could be any amount of fish. We saw that giant kingfisher the other day catching quite a nice little fish that was not, I think it was maybe a tilapia that it had caught. In fact, sorry, Kirsten, you're not able to ask me any questions now, because I can't hear you. Having a bit of a scratch. How great was it that we got to see wild dogs, though? I like this stork as well. It's keeping its eye out. I've never seen one peck at the water so aggressively before. I think I was probing the ground this time. Maybe sifting some of that silt. They've got interesting legs. Sort of grey, red, black, and then bright red feet. I don't think I've ever noticed that before. While scanning around. And I suppose when those fish do turn on the water, those scales do reflect a sort of silvery sheen. Maybe that's what that stork is looking for, is that sort of quick reflection, like a coin in the water, knowing where it needs to go. Got a good chance if it flushes its prey back in towards the shallow water as well. I think it would be a lot more accurate. Obviously, it's less murky. The shallower you get to, see it's not too far away. Hello, Hamakop. Just joined the scene. Did you miss the wild dogs, or did you watch them from your nest that you're building? Because there's a hammerkorp nest that's being built above one of the Chitwa rooms. Very cool. Imagine you were having a gin and tonic on the Chitwa deck and you saw those wild dogs coming in. I mean, it was just a wall of animals running away from them. It was pretty spectacular. There we go. Infamous room number 11. No, that's not room number 11. It's the one next to room number 11. And I know you're probably going, it's probably room number 10, but the rooms are numbered in the odd fashion. So I don't actually know what room that is. Might be 9. Wade it out a little bit deeper. Kirst saying anything?
Not currently.
Not currently. You're going to have to tell me, Vim, because I've got no communication here whatsoever. I'm just trying to figure out. No, everything's attached. I think it's just one of those spooky spots where the spooks have taken my comms. Spooks is a ghost, in case you were wondering.
2 out of 5.
Yours 2 out of 5. Okay, then we're going to have to move out of this area. It's unreliable. Bye-bye, animals of Chitwa Dan. Thank you for showing up today, for coming to school. Very kind. Guinea fowl, hammerkorp. Yeah, that was like 1 out of 5 for me. I just heard Dale. Hi, Dale. I don't know what you're asking, Dale. Oh, sorry, my bad. You asked... Well, Dale, to answer your question, yes, they do. But it kind of depends on what season it is. I'm just joking. I have no idea what Kirsty's trying to say to me. Hang on, Kirst. How tall are they? There we go. That's what you were asking, Dale. I'm going to go ahead and say that they must stand at about 1.5 meters in height, somewhere around there. Maybe I'm slightly off, but it'll be about that tall. They're not small birds. They're very, very tall, in fact. I think I'd almost be looking at them at eye level, but I'd be a little bit taller than them. But if they jump, they'd probably jump a lot higher than I could. Okay, let's go back up this way. My goodness, I feel like I've had a serious, serious shot of adrenaline. I really did not expect to see wild dogs, even though I wanted to see wild dogs the whole day since this morning. And I was going to complain about how I hadn't seen a leopard since... I think my last leopard sighting was here, actually, with Tingana and Hosana. That probably was it. Was it that one, or was it Hukumuri? I can't remember. It was one of the 2 of those sightings that I had. That was my last leopard sighting, and then the Torture Pride must almost be a week ago now. So it's been a fair amount of time, and I think I've had my patience pants on, seriously. So I don't mind if we don't get a cat now because I've got wild dogs, that's fine, but tomorrow would be nice. No? A little Thursday surprise. Now, Brent has been exceptionally patient. I didn't know his smile could go that wide earlier when I saw him on Cheetah Cutline. Let's go and see if he's picked up on any more tracks of Tundi.
Well, thank you, Taylor, for trying to get me into those dogs. Unfortunately, it looks like they went south, not west. So we're going to head back and see if we have any luck with Tundi now that it's a bit cooler. See if she's maybe patrolling some of the roads. But again, thank you, Madam McCurdy, for trying to get us into those dogs. We were about, I think, 30 seconds too late, but in wild dog years, 30 seconds is a lifetime. Okay. Kirsten says maybe one day. Yes, one day. I'm patient. And I'm hoping by the time my next leave comes about, the wild dogs at my parents' house would have denned. Last year they denned less than a kilometer from my parents' house, so we had wild dogs every day and puppies. It'd be very nice if they den somewhere up in this area this year. They tend to den in the Manuleti mostly, the packs that are around here, or in Ottawa, which is to the west. And I've been spoilt with wild dogs over the years. Now, a very, very good point has been raised by Joe here, and is that if they're so endangered, why don't we give them immune shots? We do, but they are incredibly difficult to immunize all of them. So there is a current program by the Endangered Wildlife Trust to immunize wild dogs against distemper and rabies. Historically, the problem is that to immunize them, you have to dart every single member of the pack. And a wild dog is got a very slight frame, so you've got to use a very light dart. And even then, if the dart goes into ribs and whatnot, you can puncture lungs. So they're not an easy animal to dart. And so they would have to be immobilized and then injected with the immune shots. Up until now. Now, EWT is running a program currently that has immunization of dogs, but with the bug in the eye, with the advent of different medicines and etc., you can now immunize them with a piece of mincemeat with a pill inside. And there have been an ongoing program throughout a lot of the reserves and for the Kruger National Park, where there is free there's leopard tracks on top of our tracks. Immunization. There's leopard tracks on top of my tracks. Looks like Tundi. While we're chasing dogs, Tundi's come and walked on. It sounds like they found the dogs again. Pump Pan, which is unfortunately off Chitwa. So Tundi looks like she went off here, so let's just keep moving up here. Well, the dogs have disappeared. Maybe we can have a cat before the end of drive. Now, she's going to be hunting, so she's most likely not going to be using the roads as much. She's going to be zigzagging through this this is very pristine Sabi Sands bushveld here, called broadleafed woodland, in particular Combretum based, and it's got high densities of steenbok and duiker, which will be Tundi's favorite foods. So we're going to keep checking around here. In the meantime, let's see where Steve is and what his plans are.
Thank you very much. What a marvelous afternoon you folks are having out there. Wild dogs and elephants, saddle-built storks, barn owls. How marvelous. We don't have anything to report. Temperatures are starting to drop a little bit. It's still nice and temperate though for me. I think it's not going to be as cold this evening as it has been. Just had a nice little tour of the Milwaukee drainage system, trying to see if there's any sign of Hosana, and nothing at all. So maybe he will be last minute leopard again this evening like he was the day before. That would be marvelous, but who knows. Continuing on, we're almost going to be at Vuurtele Dam again. Do another little loop past Galago Pan to see if whatever it is that startled us Nyala has maybe moved out or is walking on the road, which is often what we find at this sort of time of day. The temperature drops like this. Check all these little pans and water holes along the way, and then ideally, we get a little leopard walking in the road. I think that would be marvelous to top off a glorious show with a very surprising sighting of wild dogs. Chitwa, I don't think male leopards stay longer with their mums than females do. I think it's just an individual thing. You might find a leopardess has got a male and female cub, and they both stay the same amount of time until the demand for food becomes a little bit too much and mum just stops hunting for them, and then essentially the male has got to disperse and move away. That is generally what happens in the book of leopards. So I wouldn't necessarily say that males stay long with their females, with their mothers, than females do. If they are, really it is an individual thing. It's a female adult thing. It could be varied by all sorts of things. Her tolerance, successful hunting, him or her being very well behaved, really is quite subjective to the individual. Nearly time for the spotlights, which means it's high time for the cats, as I said, to be getting up and mobile. Amsterdam, all predators have a very similar fear to humans, but any animal that's been sort of hand-reared, lion or leopard, hand-reared, is going to have almost no fear of man, because they see us as the same sort of thing. So those are animals that are hand-reared can become more dangerous, but I don't know. I think they've all got a very similar fear. They all see us and run away. It all depends really on the habituation of them. There's a lot of reserves where there's wild cheetah that are very relaxed to people on foot, and then there's also reserves or if you go to the Kruger Park and you see a cheetah on foot, that thing will run and run and run and run. So it really is, once again, it's the individual and the circumstances behind that animal's rearing. I mean, we have leopards here that are, in my opinion, super relaxed to people on foot, just because they are very, very relaxed to us, and they don't really see us as food or a threat. The lions are probably less relaxed here than the leopards are, but they're probably also a bit more alert because there's more of them, and they see us, and I haven't had the experience of them moving off, but Herbie's told me that the Unkuhuma pride, if they do see you, they move off if you get to a certain distance, that comfort zone. But many times in my life I've had lions, leopards, hyena, cheetah on foot. They all essentially move off. That is during the daytime. At night time, it is indeed a very different kettle of cats. Did you get that? That was quite funny, hey Ferg? Catfish, he calls them. So, thank you, Kirst. Not quite sure what has happened to the road over here, but it is not looking in very good condition. Very muddy. Okay, well, let's see if Brent Leo Smith is able to find something special this evening. I think he's still in the search of that cat. Let's go see how he's doing.
Yes, I'm not one to give up easily, you know, so I am still searching for some kitty cats. What I'm doing is I'm behaving within reason, as Thandi would, hunting through this area. Crisscrossing, so I'm going along Drakensberg, then up Central, along Chitwa line, down, so crisscross through this area, and every 5 or 6 minutes or so I stop, turn off the car, listen, see if we can hear any potential alarm calls. Sorry about that. Game Drive radio is quite light. I've turned it down. I heard there was a question from Bonnie, but I didn't quite grab it there, Kirst. So, Bonnie, there's lots of different ways to tell how old the track is. It also very much helps when you know where you've driven and the track's on top of your tracks. But if you look carefully, older tracks will have tracks of other animals on top of them. Especially if you're looking at tracks from the night, you look for the first birds of the morning, which are normally the emerald-spotted wood doves that walk down on the roads and paths. So, and also scorpion tracks, millipede tracks, all those type of things, tracks on top of them. And also very fresh tracks have a very sort of defined, lovely, hard edge, where there's tracks that are a bit older from during the day or whatnot, a little bit of wind will have blown over. Those tracks' edges are not as defined, not as sharp. So there's quite a lot of different ways. But the best way, in my opinion, Bonnie, is to watch the leopard make the track. Then you can be very sure it's very fresh. And then you've also got the leopard, which is a double bonus. So we're in that sort of half light now. It's a bit too early for me to use the spotlight just yet. And this is where spotting animals is probably the most difficult in this crepuscular hour. I do love that word, crepuscular. Just rolls off the tongue. And this is where your ears become very important. Now, those of you who've been on safari will know about the traditional G&T at sunset. Now, the history behind that is quite interesting, though. Not so much from an East African point of view, but from a South African point of view in particular. The history of the sundowner has got nothing to do with giving your guests a drink and a break. When the safari started in the Sabi Sands to the south of us initially, finding lions and leopards was not nearly as easy as it is now. And what would happen is you would stop and you would set up and give your guests whatever apple juice they favor, whatever flavor of apple juice they prefer. And while you were looking and talking and looking after your guests, your tracker would normally move 100 meters or so away and sit down against a termite mound and listen. Because at this crepuscular hour, it is when particularly lion and leopard become a lot more active than they've been. So it was a tool to actually find your guests' animals in the early days of the safari industry, in the Sabi Sands in particular. So up until the early 60s, the majority of the Sabi Sands, and actually probably up until the 80s, these were private farms that were almost exclusively used for hunting. And certain farms hunted for longer than others. Now, there's actually quite a famous story from down south about a British royal called Princess Alice. And I think this must have been early 1900s, or maybe it must have been early 1900s. And apparently Princess Alice was quite the fearsome woman from well before her time, as they said in those days. So a very independent woman, and apparently her husband was a bit of a wet blanket, but useless when it came to bugs and bush and most things. And Princess Alice wanted to hunt a lion. And she went out with the first warden of the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, Harry Kirkman. And they went to hunt a lion, and she shot the lion, and the lion ran off into some thickets. And what happened is then Harry Kirkman said, well, Your Majesty, you sit put now, let me go deal with this lion in the thickets. And apparently she smacked him and said, my dear boy, if anyone's going to drag the lion out of that bush, it's going to be I. And she went in, and she did. And that little spot in the south of the Sabi Sands has got quite a funny thing, because it's a little bit naughty. It sounds a little bit naughty, the name, because we actually had a road through there, and you used to tell your guests, guess what? We're going to go drive through Princess Alice's bush. And that was what that little drainage line got named, Princess Alice's bush. Very beautiful area with lots of milkberries and tambueti trees. Actually, one of my favorite areas down in the southern Sabi Sands. So there's quite a lot of history. There's a place also just to the south of the northern Sabi Sands on the Manyeleti River called Martley Pools. And it, like Treehouse Dam, there was a platform for hunting there and shooting, and particularly the big cats, because during the dry season it was one of the only natural seeps away from the Sand River, so that water would seep up from the ground in the Manyeleti River. There's a few spots, so like the Treehouse Dam, you can't see it now because of the dam, but there's a natural seep there as well. The water comes through constantly, and Martley Pools, there's actually about 5 or 6 different names carved into the big African ebony or jackalberry there, and you can still see the remnants of the old tree hide. That's all mostly from the 40s and 50s, and where guys had interesting nicknames like Whack Campbell, from Natal Consolidated Sugar. He used to own actually the vast majority of the Sabi Sands after the failed cattle farming attempts here. I can think of some other interesting Sabi Sands history. So there was one of the sort of great tuskers of the last generation from Kruger, but he was a single tusker. He had one very big tusk, probably about 1.8 meters long, probably about as long as me, so a really big tusk. And he had very, very strange sort of eyelashes and sort of weird markings above his eye. And that tusker's name was Maliliwan, which basically means eyebrows. And that was the nickname, the Shangaan nickname of Harry Kirkman, the first warden of the Sabi Sands. Because if you do yourself a favor, I'm pretty sure if you guys have probably found it already when you've researched the Sabi Sands, but if you find a picture of Harry Kirkman, that man had eyebrows that you could hide a forest elephant in. They were huge and bushy. So that was his Shangaan name, Maliliwan. nearly dark enough for us to use the spotlight now. I'll try to think of some other old, great Sabi Sands stories for you. I've actually got one that's from the northern Sabi Sands. So while you wait patiently for story time after dark, let's go see what Taylor's up to.
We are trying to not eat bugs and also looking for Tingana. Where are you? Wait, I'm having it's very cooperative today. No, I lied. Where you were a great car. Thank you for racing around. So we're just checking for Tingana. I don't know where he would have gone. It's hard to tell. I'm just quickly checking around the dam. I have a phobia of one day driving off of the dam wall because I wasn't concentrating. Imagine how terrible that would be. It'd be terrifying. So I'm just checking a few spots. It's obviously difficult to see because we don't know where he crossed in. No one was waiting for him, which is a pity. Kristen, did you say Lou? Like as in the Louise that works for us? Not that Louise. Okay. Just checking. Now, Lou, great question. Sure. Say that again, about how does Hosana know that Tingana's his father, even though his mother raised him? Okay, just had to get that all in at once there. Well, I suppose there's been many interactions between Kruger, the two youngsters, Shongile and Hosana, and Tingana, as they were growing up. So I think from that, and I think they regularly saw him. I think they got to know his scent as well. Because remember, they've now been interacting with him. They would have smelt his scent all within the area. So whether or not they knew it was his father, I don't necessarily think so. I just think that they've had some kind of interaction, more than one interaction with him. Though they're familiar with him is probably the best way to sort of put it. I don't think that Hosana knows that that's his dad. I think he's just taking a chance. So that's my opinion. I was going to say, what birds are on the road? It's not. It's elephant dung that are all down there. Also, we've gone into infrared, as you can see. I'm now like in the old school movies. Just thought I'd mention that. Now, Tingana, would you have had a little drinky? Oh, there was a bush baby, but I don't know if we're going to see it. There's a few of them. Kirsty had a weird dream about bush babies last night. So that's nice. Kirsty's directing. They were bouncing in there. I'm just trying to see if I can get an eye shine again. No, I can't get an eye shine. Where are they? They're gone. There. Go, yeah, in there. I saw her. There, just down to the left. There, you got it. It's there. Can you see it moving? Center frame. You've just got to use your imagination. It's its tail. There it goes. Boing. Gummy bears bouncing here, na 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 na. And I think that's all now. But we got one. I haven't seen a bush baby or put a bush baby on camera for a long time. That was nice. Shall we show them the beautiful sky view? Because the colors tonight are amazing. But we're going to have to go out of... Yes, look how lovely it is. Look at the amazing colors. Kirsten, maybe go back into color. Please. We are. There we go. How gorgeous is that? Beautiful little moon. A little slither of moon, if for anybody. That's pretty. It's very pretty. Just starting to see some of the craters, but my favorite part of it has to be the oranges and the blues that are all sort of melting into one another this evening. It's gorgeous. It's like a painting. Right, that was a lovely view, but we've got places and things to find. Have you? Like a leopard. We want to find a leopard. Oh, something is crawling in my hair. Right now, Brent obviously was having a great story time with all of you, so I suppose I better send you back to him so he can finish telling you.
Yes, we're on story time, and we're going to talk about Buffalo's Hook, the Buffalo Corner. That is just to the north of us, that way over there. And there's a road there called Lion Cage Road. Now, one thinks, did they catch a lion? What did they do there? So, in the old days, and I actually got this is first-hand information from one of the original landowners from Buffelshoek, who still have a property there. So what happened on Lion Cage Road, if you wanted to see a lion, you used to buy a donkey, tie it to a tree, and then spend your night in the cage watching the donkey. Can you imagine? I mean, I've done some crazy stuff. And they used to leave their kids locked in this cage overnight to see if they could see a lion with these, they used to call them, you can't even get them anymore. I used to have one. It's called a bulala lamp, which basically means a kill or death lamp. So it's a very old form of torch that was used for night hunting. And basically like an old mining torch, basically. So it's got a big sort of battery on it that attaches, that you have a little handle on or a strap. And then you've got a torch that you swing from it. And they used to leave the kids, and then they're teenagers, like the 13, 14 years old, these kids used to sleep in this cage. The cage is still there. And they tie a donkey or a goat to the tree and wait for the lions to come. Because the lions wouldn't come out during the day because they were very skittish. And that's crazy. And I heard all about that from one of the kids. Well, when he was a kid, he used to be in there, old Johan. So it's really fascinating stuff. The stuff, I suppose, that you used to do. Times have changed, of course. No, nothing at Quarry Pan. I just thought. So I'm going to slowly move my way back towards Mumba Road and that area where we last had tracks. As I say, I think she's zigzagging through these blocks. And hopefully we'll get some luck with her before the end of safari. Now, does anyone have any particular stories not African folklore? I'm not going to do African folklore today. I'm not going to do African folklore today, but I've got lots of stories. And how about choose a country? I'm going to give you a list of 5 countries, and you guys can choose a country you want a story from. So I will give you Botswana. Botswana, Zambia, Tanzania, Gabon. What's the last one? Congo. There you go. Botswana, Zambia, what else is it? Tanzania, Gabon, or Congo. Choose a story from there while you decide. Let's go see what Stivovo is up to.
Story part number 2, I believe you heard that from Brent. I thought his first story was about a 5-part story, first of all. But marvelous, lots of stories to tell. James has informed us again of alarm calls coming from a similar area as before. We've just driven past there and we had nothing, but let's go back. He heard some monkeys alarm calling, and their volume doesn't go as far. So maybe that leopard that we have been trying to find is now moving again. Let's have a look, shall we? In we go. Drive part number 3, Galago Pan. But it's just like that, folks. The bush is very dense at the moment, so very hard to see these animals unless they are physically moving and relying on animal alarm calls. And I told you the monkeys are very, very reliable. It's getting quite dark, so we're going to switch off in about maybe a minute, 30 seconds to listen, maybe even shorter than that. See if we can get an idea of whereabouts those monkeys are alarm calling. But what is normally the case is when a monkey's alarm call, as with nyalas, is whatever it is that they've seen moves off. Monkeys do like the taller trees for roosting in. On the left hand side the trees are much smaller, right down in that sort of river depression, right next to the lodge itself. The trees are much taller, and that is where the monkeys would most likely be spending the night. I did do a proper search in there earlier, but as we've seen before, these leopards can be quite relaxed on foot. and they might not even make a noise. You can walk almost right past them. James nearly stepped on Hosana yesterday morning, and then yesterday afternoon he nearly stepped on his father. So that is the way it is sometimes. You have to kick them to know that they're there. I'm only joking, you don't have to kick them. We'd never kick the leopard. Okay, well, let's go back over to Brent and his storytelling this evening.
Okay, wait. Are you coming to us? Hello. Sorry, we were chatting and Darby's earpiece had fell out there. I was like, Darby, keep quiet. Interrupting my story time, David. Those dimples won't get you free pass over here, David. Anyway, so it seems like the majority of you are voting for the Congo. Now, I should have probably been more specific. Do you want Congo DRC or Congo Brazzaville? But I'll just make that decision. So, of course, the history of both Congos is relatively not so nice in terms of lots of civil wars and dictators and cannibals and all sorts of hairy and scary people. But let's not talk about the hairy and scary people too much. Although, interesting fact, during the First World War, the Free Nation of France's capital, while France was under German occupation, was Congo Brazzaville. Charles de Gaulle, and there's still de Gaulle's house in Brazzaville that you can drive past. You're not allowed inside it. So anyway, there's an interesting fact about Congo Brazzaville. Now, let us think. What story will we tell of the Congo? Crocodiles. So some of the biggest crocodiles recorded in Africa come from the Congo River, and some of the most, well, it's very difficult to say if it was one particular crocodile that ate everyone, but some of the largest sort of recorded man-eating crocs come from all parts of Congo, from the Congo River, from Lake Tanganyika as well, and currently the thought to be the largest living Nile crocodile in the world is in Lake Tanganyika. He is called Gustav. Who named him? I can't remember, but he is named Gustav. So he's estimated to be around 6 meters in length. That is longer than this car. And the interesting thing about Gustav, as opposed to a lot of the big other man-eaters, like the Point Noir man-eater, was about 5.2 meters and estimated to be about 110, 115 years old, lost a lot of its teeth. But Gustav is estimated to be quite young for giant croc standards, and he's estimated to only be around 70 years old. So quite a lot of growing still, not necessarily growing in length still in him, but still a lot of people-eating days left. There have been many attempts to try catch Gustav, but unfortunately no one has succeeded just yet. Well, or fortunately if you Gustav. Oh, quickly across to Taylor.
Yes, quickly across to Taylor. Woohoo! We've broken the leopard curse. Hallelujah. Here we have Mr. Hosana. Thank you for those that spotted him on the damn wall. I'd actually come to Taylor. I was here. You may have seen me, you may have heard me racing around or seen my spotlight shining about. But we have him finally. Wiem, how happy are you now?
78.
Only 78, and you got to see dogs and a leopard. 78 out of 80. Very clever. Well, clever. Kirsty, we have not been spoiled. We have worked hard. Thank you very much. Take that back. Yes, we were not letting this leopard slip out of our claws. That was for sure. As soon as I heard Kirsty gave the update of James saying that monkeys were alarming, I raced here like I was chasing after dogs again. One. I'm just going to jump up ahead. Now, where are you going, boy? There he is. He's just off to the left of us. Just walk a little bit to the right. There you go. Here he is. Just slinking through the grass quietly. I love how he's lifted his tail up like he doesn't want his tail to rustle any of the grass today. So happy. Very happy to see this beautiful boy. He's turning out to be a lovely cat, don't you all think? He's growing quite nicely. And he doesn't look too fat. He looks in perfect condition. Although it would be nice if he could catch an impala or an Inyala so he can eat it here and we can see him for a few more days. Hosana just keeps moving. I mean, after Brent lost him, it wouldn't surprise me if he was just carried on moving throughout the day. He tends to do that. A fly's getting you. Bugs. Sorry. There's a scrubber to the left of him, but I don't think he's seen it. In between those two trees. Somewhere there I saw some eyes, maybe a little bit further back, but he hasn't seen. Oh, there. Oh, you're a lucky scrub hair. Lucky scrub hair. Okay, now I just need... Oh, Hosana has seen it. Zoom out a bit. I can't put... He's directly here. Maybe... He's watching the scrub hair. There he is. You got him? There you go. So Hosana in the right corner. Scrubber on the left. He was running... Not running around, but he was moving around. I think he knows Hosana's here, though, because the vivid monkeys are still alarming in the distance. You can see that you might not be able to see, but if you look very carefully, that scrub hair's ears working overtime, twitching, trying to pick up any sort of sound. But luckily for us, we're quite far away from him, which is good news. And we're obviously not going to do any more moving around. I don't know if he's going to catch one this time, although I feel like Hosana has worked on his scrub hair hunting skills. Something's got his attention off to the right here. He's turned his head, focusing on the scrub hair anymore. Looking away completely. Maybe he's heard the impala that are just a few hundred meters away from him. Yeah, something else has caught his attention. I don't know what it is. No, turned away. Where are you going? Maybe he knows Dad's on the property and he's going to go meet him for a beer. No, he's too young for a beer. He couldn't be having one just yet. For like 3.5 years old for a leopard is acceptable. And of course she's talking absolute nonsense. I don't know where he's going. He's going in the right direction for food because he's heading up towards the open plains of quarantine, and there are so many impala, inyala, and wildebeest for him to choose from. Just being very careful. I'm trying to watch the camera in this tree in front of us. It's pitch black outside. Kirsten, what was that sound? Were you being Darth Vader? Right, we're going to try and get ahead of Hosana again without disturbing too many things in the bush. Brent has got a creature that's probably not going to make a quick escape.
No, but it is slowly moving to try and get into a spot to roost for the evening. There we go. Come on. Slowly, slowly. Now, it's quite nice. Normally, by this time of the year, we don't see many chameleons, but because of the late rain, we're still seeing them. Where are you off to, chameleon? Finding a nice spot to hide for the night. There's his head popping up. Hello. Nice big one. Now, of course, chameleons cause great panic amongst most African cultures, and they're believed to be bewitched and evil and dangerous to people because of their ability to change color, as well as their tongue that shoots in and out almost invisibly. Now, I've stopped to save chameleons on the road before and had people leap out of my car in all directions. I think it is in San culture, if I remember correctly, that the chameleon is the reason why humans lost immortality. And so the chameleon was told by the creator to go tell the human beings that they must report to whatever spot, and if they did, it would ensure their immortality. So the people didn't arrive, and the chameleon forgot. He started eating along the way. Quickly across the trailer.
Right, we've found Hosana. I'm going to sit quietly though, because we're going to do a action broadcast. Good afternoon, good evening everybody, and welcome to this live and interactive safari. We're sitting in the middle of the Sabi Sand Game Reserve in South Africa, where we are watching a leopard slink through the grass, and with prey in sight, maybe only 20 meters away. Now, we are sitting with our infrared lights on, so it's a special light that the animals cannot see. I cannot see anything either. It is pitch black out here. I'm just looking on my small monitor, which allows me to see what's going on. This is absolutely incredible to watch. He is so close. He's a young male leopard. Some of you that do follow Safari Live may know him. Hosana, the son of a very famous leopard, Kruger, who mysteriously disappeared last year sometime. Oh, he's getting close. Now, for a leopard to get this close is perfect. Now, I did say it was live and interactive, so if you do have any chats, you know what to do. You just have to comment away. And I'm going to try and keep my voice as low as possible, but we have parked a fair distance away from them to allow him to do his thing. And we're not going to move at all until Hosana makes his final move this evening. This is amazing. I don't think that Impala Ram knows what's going on either. He's completely oblivious. But being on his own and at night, the Impala, of course, is going to be quite cautious too. Zephyr, you're rooting for Hosana. I think we all are in this case. He's a beloved leopard. And I was just saying a moment ago, before you all joined us, as he was staring into the eyes of a scrub hare, that he needs a meal, and I'd wish he'd go for something a little bit bigger. And he did. He obviously heard the rustling of this impala as it grazes, and decided that he'd rather use his energy. Oh, here he goes, look. This impala knows something's up. The vervet monkeys were alarming also. Come on, Hosana, your chances. Come on, go now. He might not have another moment. No, that impala, I think, for now, is gone. Something is fishy. I'm moving out of here. Hosana hasn't moved. Maybe he's going to chase after him. He was so close. He was less than 10 meters away from that impala. And they've got incredible acceleration speed. Alex, you've said that this is an old video. It cannot be an old video because it is the 18th of April today, and it is now 21 minutes past 6 p.m. Central African time. This is happening right now. This is live. It's in the Sabi Sand Wildtuin. We are very close to Vuyatela Lodge on Djuma. So no, this is not an old video. This is happening as we speak. And we just watched an impala escape the clutches of a leopard. But he is very young, he's very inexperienced. You can still see the impalas just there. You just sort of see his eyes, but I think he knows. I think he's a bit weary at the moment. Just turned around now so he can't see that eye shine. You'll just see it every now and then. What are you going to do, Hosana? He's still just watching. So he hasn't taken his eyes off. And sometimes a hunt does take a long time. It doesn't just happen in 2 seconds. Sometimes it may stalk for an hour, 2 hours. I once watched a leopard or are you going to come back this way? I once watched a leopard for about an hour on the sunset safari, and in the morning he'd been still sitting at the same place outside a warthog burrow and sat for another 3 hours. So they are patient creatures, these leopards. He's trying again. Unfortunately, it's going to be hard to see, but we cannot move any closer, because if I move the car, I'm going to alert the impala. So we'll just sit and wait. Sammy Jane, you said if all else fails, scrub hair. I think that's what he's going to have to go back for. But if this impala bolts and starts alarming, that scrub hair is going to be alerted of Hosana's presence as well, and will probably move off and seek some shelter under a shrub. He's gone back down again. And Hosana's got everything on his side tonight. And it's nice and dark, and the stars are out, but they're not particularly bright. John, you've asked how old this leopard is. He's just over 2 years old now, so he's still quite young. He's still got a lot to learn. This is why I said he's inexperienced. So I suppose, even though he didn't make an attempt the first time, he knows better than I do. I shouldn't be one to be judging him. I don't know how to catch an impala. He probably would have made some calculations in his head and maybe thought to himself, I shouldn't go just yet. He's creeping up closer. Candace, you're quite right in saying, wow, the patience. You're definitely correct. Now, as soon as Hosana does bolt and run, if he does run towards that impala, or that impala walks straight towards him, which he is doing at the moment, and that would be ideal, is if that impala just walks straight up to him. As soon as we hear some sounds, we will race and get a better view, but for now we're going to hold out. Now, of course, I know some of you, okay, impala's looking suspiciously in the grass there. I know some of you are saying it's a bit dark. We're very far away. We're in infrared. We can't move because we don't want to alert anybody of our presence, but I think this impala knows what's up. You see how he keeps looking in the direction, and that's in a big impala ram. It's tough trying to move through the grass. Come on, Hosana, make your move. A lot of rustling going around. I can't even see him anymore, but he's somewhere in there. He's just laying low, like a leopard should, when they're trying to sneak up to its prey. I think he's slinking again. Is that him there? I think my eyes just want to see him move. Very, very difficult to see where he's moved to now. And the impala, I think, is behind the trees. Kayleen, now there's very little wind out tonight. I don't even think there's a breeze. So I don't think that's going to be playing sort of a part in this hunt this evening. It's going to be a big negative against Hosana as he slinks through the grass. And also it's not going to conceal his scent very well. So, because there isn't much of a breeze either, I don't think it's going to work in the impala's favor. I don't think it's going to be able to pick up on his scent too much. I don't know where this impala has gone. What I'm going to do is I want to have a quick scan around behind me. No, I think he's behind the trees at the moment because I can't see anything. So we typically use our spotlights to try and spot animals, to find them. And then once we've found them, we go into infrared. And then if they've moved off, we can use them again just to scan very quickly. Not keeping the light on them for too long. Just making sure Hosana hasn't snuck past on the side of the vehicle, but it doesn't look like it. I'm sure he's still in the bushes somewhere. No, I can't see either of them anymore. The impala could have gone further west from where we are, back up to the open plains, where just moments before we found Hosana, there were big herds, bachelor herds, breeding herds, herds of wildebeest as well. Lots of different creatures, but now I don't know where he is. I do think that impala has moved off quite a bit now. Right. Well, that was very exciting, wasn't it? pretty amazing that we get to see wild leopards in their elements. And, well, we're going to try and find them again. I might go back out and on the road, keep my distance. So if you'd like to carry on watching Safari Live to see if Hosana comes out and tries to catch a leopard again, not a leopard, catch an impala again, just head to, well, Safari Live. You can Google us. But for myself and VM and the rest of the Wild Earth team, it's been fantastic, and we hope that you join again soon. Hi guys. I don't know where Hosana's gone. Oh, there's the impala. Go straight 12 o'clock. Where did he go? I don't know if this was I don't know if this is now another impala. There were a lot of them around here. I still can't see Hosana though. I have no idea where he is. And Impala's just sort of standing there looking. He definitely knows that something's there. I think the bugs are getting to him, as they are to VM and I. I don't know, Kirst. It's up to you. I don't know what Hosana's going to do. Okay, we'll keep it going for a minute longer, everybody. We're going to extend the drive just slightly. There we go. Kirsten, I don't think it's going to be necessary. This impala knows that he's there now. He's snorted. And is going to get out of there. I think he's just making sure that he knows that there's a leopard. But good attempt by Hosana. Hopefully he'll be quicker off the mark next time and not think so hard about it. Trust himself a little bit more. But what an exciting drive, with possibilities of Tingana being out tomorrow morning and on the property. And who knows when the Nkuhumas are going to return. Right, let's hope we see Hosana on a kill in the morning. But otherwise, we'll see you on the Sunrise Safari.